All right. Well, happy Hot Mess Monday. Welcome back for those of you that decided to come back because we just had a little bit of technical issues, but hey, we're back and it's all good. It's Monday again and it's a Hot Mess Monday, like a big time Hot Mess Monday. Happy spring, you guys. Did you do any rituals over the weekend? Did you expand your mind, expand everything? Did you just do some spring cleaning? I know, like my roommate did a ton of spring cleaning, so I kind of had to stay out of her way because there was a painting going on and all kinds of good stuff. I did some other kinds of rituals, and we'll talk about that another time. But it's a new week, it's a new season, it's a new week, and it's a new chance to kind of change some things in your life. That's kind of what this Monday thing's about, this Hot Mess Monday thing's about. If there are things in your life that are a little messy, let's work on cleaning them up. One of the things that I've done in the last several months, since October, actually, October of that year that shall not be mentioned, is I started eating plant-based, and then I went back to eating regular food, and then I decided to go back to plant-based. And one of the people that inspired me to do so was my friend Tiffany Wells, that is going to be coming on in just a little bit. But here's the cool thing about plant-based food, you guys. It's going super mainstream, as you've probably seen. There's like plant-based food at Costco even. But today when I was going through Starbucks, I saw this cool little plant-based protein box, which thank goodness, because it is so hard to find plant-based food quickly and easily. Last night I drove through, and this is going to make some people look, but anyway, I drove through Taco Bell because I was like, a few days ago, I thought, okay, I'm just going to eat a bean burrito. I just need a bean burrito. I'm starving and I'm on the way home, and it was a long drive. And I found out that they actually have these little tacos called spicy potato tacos. You just have to take off the cheese. But they're like spicy potatoes with lettuce. They don't have beans, but you can put the hot sauce. They're like $1. So I get 2 or 3 of those and they're perfect. So it's becoming mainstream. So you might be starting to think, what is this plant-based lifestyle all about? So that's why I decided that I wanted to have my friend Tiffany on. And we just had some technical issues, but they are all cleared up. So we're going to get to hear from her right now. So yay, my awesome friend Tiffany Wells. I don't know why I keep calling you Taffany.
Taffany.
Taffy.
Sugar.
You guys, this is Tiffany Wells. She has a blog and a Facebook page called Veggies at Tiffany's, and she's amazing. So I'm going to actually pop over really quickly and make sure that I'm sharing over to my personal page. Sorry, that was one thing that I didn't actually do this time. And you can do the same thing too, Tiffany, if you'd like other people to check you out and to see what's going on. But for some reason, it's just not coming up right now. Ah, that's fine. We'll share it later. Oh, well. Okay, so last October, you came over and we were doing some video and you were making some really cool vegan desserts that are delicious and amazing. And if you guys want some vegan desserts, like seriously, you guys, Veggies at Tiffany's is the bomb for a lot of stuff. But I wanted to ask you a little bit about, like, first, before we get into it, like, how did you decide, or what made you decide that you wanted to go vegan?
Well, let me try. You can hear me this time, yes?
I can totally hear you. Yes.
um, so it was, we watched a documentary, like so many of you probably have or will. And it started for the planet. We watched Cowspiracy, if you've heard of that. It's on Netflix now. Was it
No,
at the
I
time?
but I will say, like, the documentary that got me thinking about a lot of stuff way back was Food Inc. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and of course, I've watched so many more now. It started with that, just the environmental issues that animal agriculture has on our planet and sustainability. And we watched that, and my husband and I, we changed overnight. It was just we just felt like we had to. Once we learned what we now know, it was a no-brainer. And then once we made that decision, and then I learned what it's doing and everything. I mean, our health, you mentioned one. What the health is another great one. Forks Over Knives, Game Changers is, if you're into sports, if you're athletic, that's a great one to watch. It's impacted so many. Now, learning what animal agriculture does, I mean, to the animals themselves,
Yeah.
now I feel like I'm just as much, if not more, for the animals than I am for the planet, to be honest. So, yeah, and that's
That's funny that you say that, because honestly, like the one thing, I tell people, I think I can share it now. There we go. Hang on a second real quick. I just want to make sure that our friends see this too. But yeah, the one thing that I tell people all the time is, if you watch these documentaries, you can't help but change the way you live your life anymore. You can't unsee the things that you see. And so what I thought, at the time, I was like, well, I'm going to just change how I eat things. I'm going to change where I get my things. So I try and buy locally sourced things. I, switched over to, I stopped drinking dairy. I switched over to almond milk and rice milk. And now I'm like strictly oat milk. I love oat milk, but I stopped eating a lot of things for a long time. And the one thing that you caught me on was I had switched over to grass-fed beef, and you stopped and you kind of told me a little fallacy about grass-fed animals. So can you share a little bit about the impact of grass-fed beef?
Sure. So like I said, we initially switched for the planet. And so when you mentioned the grass-fed beef, it's like part of the reasons, there's so many reasons so many ways that animal agriculture impacts what our environment. But one of the factors is that we're going to run out of land. As our population grows and we keep eating all the meat that we're eating, I mean, we grow more food for the animals than we grow for ourselves, and we're eating up all the land. And when you do the grass fed and the free roaming, it takes up more of the land. And I mean, it's harder. It's less sustainable.
What's funny is I thought I was doing something good, and then you said that, and I sat there with my mouth hanging. I was like, "Oh, well, girl, I eat grass-fed beef," and you like blew my mind with that, because I didn't really stop to think about that. I didn't stop to think about the impact of that still on the environment, and I was like, "Oh." And I was feeling so self-righteous.
Once it clicked, once I saw your face, like, oh.
Totally. My face just went, what?
100%.
You probably get that a lot from a lot of people about all the stuff that you talk about.
Sure, absolutely.
Yeah, sure.
Well,
because Tiffany put the meat away.
So many people don't want to hear it, and I don't. I try not to be a preacher, but if somebody's open to listening, I like to share what I know.
It's funny that you say that too, because so one of the jokes I used to always say, and I was just like, oh my God, I'm that person now, is how do you know somebody's vegan? They can't stop telling you,
Whatever. That's what they say.
But then when I switched over to plant-based, I was like, oh my God. And I was like, why didn't people tell us? I'm like, wait, they've been telling us for a long time. Like vegan, I don't know if anybody knows like the history of like doctors coming up with a vegan way of living, but it's since the 40s. And actually plant-based, that method of eating came out in the 80s. So what some people, and what cracks me up is when you go to a restaurant and they're like, oh, we have quesadillas, you can eat quesadillas. And I'm like, still has cheese in it. Or just like, here, have some chips and salsa. I'm like, I would also like to eat food, like regular food. So when you gave me that information about the plant-based, the impact of plant-based, or I'm sorry, grass-fed beef on the planet, that night, I had a meditation, like a plant-based meditation that evening, and one of the messages that came through loud and clear was that I didn't say it did, the message wasn't go vegan. The message was no animal until the next full moon, till the end of the month. That was what it was. And then I looked later on the calendar and it was actually a full moon. And I was like, okay, so I kind of like, I'm this person that just does things with full moons. And, like I start rituals and new moons. And it was the new moon when you and I had spoken, or was coming up on the new moon. And I was like, okay, I can do this. So the next morning I was like, no eggs, no this, no that. But I had nothing in my refrigerator that really could satiate me, or in my cupboard. So I ended up eating like a ton of potatoes and rice and beans. And I was like, I don't think I can eat any more potatoes. But I eat potatoes all the time still. I love potatoes. I just don't eat as much as I did those first few days. So that's what I wanted you to come on and kind of, since you've actually now gone to culinary school to learn how to really have that vegan lifestyle, even as a chef, which is amazing. I love that you did that. So kind of maybe tell some people, like what should you stock up on in your refrigerator and your pantry before you decide to take the big leap into a plant-based lifestyle or a vegan lifestyle?
Sure. Well, I mean, as you said lots of potatoes and legumes. I mean, you want to have beans and you want to have lentils and all the starches. You want to have rice and all that, those shelf stable items. You want to have those available to you. But I say, I mean, the most of my shopping is fresh produce. So you have to have lots. And if you're not somewhere where you can have fresh produce, I mean, do what you can, frozen, anything works. But that's a huge part. And I love, you got to have your spices. You got to.
Yes. Okay.
What's that?
Let's stop there really quickly. What are some of your favorite spices? I've been experimenting with kind of some of the same spices and the flavor profiles that you would put into regular meat.
Okay.
I've been adding to stuff. So like tell me some of your favorites.
So I have a couple secret. I mean, there's going to be things that you've probably used not vegan or before as an omnivore. Like smoked paprika is one of my favorite things because you can give items that smoky flavor that you might have with meat if that's something you're craving. There's some secret things that you've probably never heard of. I like to use this kelp powder. If you want things,
can you put that up to the camera real quick?
So this isn't, unfortunately, I can't show you how it comes because I just put things in jars.
Oh, but you and your jars, man. I'm a jar girl too, though. I'm good.
This is a little easier to find, and it's just not as fine. So kelp granules, and I add these to things like mushrooms to give it, or tofu, or anything to give it a fishy flavor. If you're missing that, this samba olik, black salt, Indian black salt. This makes things taste like eggs because of its high sulfur content. What? I kid you not. I wish you were here so you could smell it.
Well, you can just come over and like make me some food.
I will. That's one of my favorite things to do is cook for people. So don't tempt me. Nutritional yeast. Have you used this yet, Sugar?
No, but what's that for?
This gives, it's like liquid, or it's not liquid, but it gives, it's like gold to vegans. They love it. Oh, wow. It's cheesy. It's a cheesy, nutty flavor. So you will see nutritional yeast in all kinds of, not just cheese sauces, but savory items. Gives it kind of an umami, but it's just delicious. That's some of those things that I didn't know what were before being vegan that now I'm like, I couldn't live without. I always have tofu in my fridge. I know there's a lot of soy haters out there, but yeah, it's great for you. It really is, and it's a great source of protein. Tempeh, if you want something that's less processed than tofu, that's an item that I had never heard of before going vegan.
I had actually heard of this when I lived up north because I used to rent from this hippie lady, and she was into cooking macro. She was a macrobiologist, which is basically a vegan. I found out later. It just, it's a very interesting name, but it was more about like her way of cooking was more about making sure that you got all the macros, right? That you got all of your nutrients. And so that was kind of another thing that I wanted to talk about too, is just like the one thing everybody always stops and says, like, where do you get your protein? I asked you, I'm like, wait a minute, hold on. I'm anemic. I'm going to need some iron. I'm going to need protein. I don't know that I can go fully meat free. And you had some suggestions there too.
Yeah. So one thing we have to think about is everybody, at least in this country I know, is obsessed with their protein. And really, the thing that most of us are lacking is fiber, not protein. But if you do, and as long as you are eating enough calories for your size in a wide variety of foods, eat the rainbow, they say,
right.
You should be getting enough protein. If you do want to add, make sure. I add it to everything. Put a little, even if you're having something protein based like tofu, say, in your main meal, add some seeds to your salad, or add some kidney beans to your salad. I put my sauces I make out of nuts or seeds, or tofu. You can blend silken tofu and make that into a cream sauce or a salad dressing.
The other thing that I found out that you can do too, and I don't know if it was you that told me this or somebody else told me this, but you can take orange lentils. Orange lentils break down really fast and easy, and you can add those to any kind of red sauces or anything like that, and that's got protein to it.
That sounds delicious. Yeah, lentils are, I think.
I'm like the lentil queen now. I eat all the different, no, I'm not kidding. Like you were just like, eat lentils. And I'm like, like I love lentils, but like every day. No, I've been eating lentils every day. So I put the orange ones, in my sauces. And then I make the green ones, sometimes I'll do in other kind of sauces, but the dark ones, and this is the other thing too, is I need it to kind of be easy, and not super difficult. Excuse me. And so I found like these vacuum sealed packages of cooked lentils at Trader Joe's, right?
I love those.
They're the best. Oh my gosh. So in that package, in that vacuum sealed package, you pull it open and you break it, and it's like, it yields like a ton of lentils. So I probably make like 2 or 3 dishes out of that just for myself, because I'm basically just cooking for myself now. My son kind of comes and goes and does his own thing. So what I've been doing with that, and you'll be so proud of me, girl. I've been making a cucumber salad. So chopping up cucumbers, tomatoes, a little garlic, some parsley, and just soaking that in lemon. And then taking half of those lentils and breaking that open, warming it up just a teeny tiny bit, and then tossing the whole thing together. And it is delicious. So
sounds delicious.
Okay, more protein stuff. Tell us more. Or actually, maybe like other nutrients too, like not just protein, but like how you can. So if you're not eating fish, how do you get your omega-3s? Or
sure.
Okay.
Walnuts are great. Chia seeds are great. Also, one of the healthiest foods, I mentioned the kelp powder. One of the healthiest foods that I think not many of us eat is seaweed.
Yeah. No, I
eat lots of seaweed.
If I think I eat a lot of lentils, I just do nothing but devour seaweed all day.
That's awesome. The only thing that we really can't, or we can replace with plant-based foods, but something that's harder to get enough of, the only thing you really need to worry about is B12. I do take a supplement for B12 every morning.
I did do that because I did hear that too, is B12 is like you have to take the supplement. So,
and some people don't. You don't necessarily have to, but it is definitely a good idea. And when you get your yearly checkup, get your
Mhm.
blood tested, which they normally do anyways, and you'll know. I've always been just fine, and I really don't put a whole lot of thought into making sure I'm getting one thing or another.
Mhm.
But I do take that B12, which a lot of us take B vitamins in the morning anyways. If you do like a pre-gym drink, a lot of those are going to have B12 in them because it gets you going.
So my friend Quanta just came on and said we need a little class, and I think we do need a little class. And this is kind of like a little primer, but I was thinking maybe we could, get together again and go into a little deeper dive into this. So look for that, you guys. I definitely want everybody to know a little bit more about that because it's really just it's such a I'm going to be one of those people. It's such a good way to live your life. So great way. And this is another thing too, that the woman that I used to rent from up north, that's the macrobiologist, she used to work with, and this is not a medical thing, I'm not a doctor, I only play one on TV, just kidding, is she worked with cancer patients. And she worked with cancer patients that had just been diagnosed, and she worked with cancer patients that were going through chemo. And that was the one thing she said. She's like, cut out all animal fat, all animal protein, and also cut out sugar. Except for this sugar, most sugar is bad for you. So, but yeah, that was like her number one thing. She's like, get rid of meat altogether. So I started eating a lot of like bulgur wheat and other kind of things like that up there. But she was very hippy dippy, very crunchy, and the food was kind of gross, to be very honest with you. I know. The sauces were always like some butternut squash that was really too thick, and I was like, ha. But the food, but you really turned me on to like jackfruit and of course the tofu and everything
Love
else.
jackfruit.
The mushrooms have become my new meat, to where I'm just like cooking them just like I cook regular meat. So tell me, okay, how would you cook those meats to soak up as much flavor and as much of the nutrients that you're adding in, like maybe the kelp, or what was the other one, the yeast? How would you cook those to make sure that you're getting like the full flavor and the full benefits?
Okay, well, one thing you don't want to do that's so much, like I grew up in the 80s, and so many people just boiled their vegetables, all of them. That's what my mom did,
Yeah,
right?
don't do that.
You don't
Don't
want
do
to,
that.
not only does it not help the flavor, but you're losing your nutrients. It doesn't keep what you want
Mhm.
in there. So if you have it sitting in the water like that. So as far as that goes, you
Yeah,
definitely
so
don't
that
do
that
that.
was another thing that I learned, and I can't remember if it was from you or just doing research, but the deeper the color, the denser the nutrients, right?
For sure. And I think I mentioned before, you want to make sure you're eating a lot of different colors because
Mm-hmm.
everything has different nutrients in it, and that's one of the ways you can tell. As far as flavors, you were talking about mushrooms. You were talking about kind of replacing that meatiness. One thing that I love to do, if you take another one of my kitchen staples is tamari or soy sauce. You take that or coconut aminos,
Mm-hmm.
mix it
Mm-hmm.
with some smoked paprika, even a little bit of maple syrup, and you can make kind of a bacony flavor. And it's really popular in marinate, like chopped up some sliced up shiitakes and
Oh,
marinate it in that mixture. And you can just
I'm
toss
getting
it
so
into.
hungry right now.
There's so that's one delicious thing. You mentioned jackfruit. It's like one of my favorite things because it has that texture that
Mm-hmm.
people
Mm-hmm.
miss,
Yeah, yeah,
and you can just put whatever sauce you want on it, really.
yeah.
Um,
It's funny.
Gravy.
So you just mentioned a couple of things that are
Yeah.
interesting. So people don't necessarily miss meat; they miss that flavor and that texture.
Texture.
Mm-hmm.
And like you mentioned, the portobellas, that good thickness is
Mm-hmm.
something. One of the mushrooms I've been
Girl, I'm going to leave the broadcast. I'm just going to go upstairs and start eating right now. You take over. I'll be right back.
I've been having fun with the king oyster mushrooms.
Ooh.
So they have a really dense, I've been flattening them, kind of like ribs, and they have a really dense texture to them that you might want to try if you
I think we need to do just one video / class on mushrooms, because you don't know until you start really diving into mushrooms what all they can, there are some mushrooms you can dive into that are really, really amazing and will take you to other realms. Let me just tell you that. But there are those are the best.
They're a great source sugar of vitamin D. And one thing I learned in school, this is a really interesting fact. If you put your mushrooms out in the sun for at least 15 minutes before you cook them, it boosts the vitamin D in them immensely. Yes.
Get out of town.
I promise. Isn't that crazy?
So one of the things that I did is I bought dried mushrooms. I didn't love that. I didn't really love them. No matter how much I slow cooked them, I felt like they were still kind of chewy, you know? So now I just go with the fresh mushrooms. So aside from just like the regular little button mushrooms, we talked about portobello mushrooms, shiitake mushrooms, and what was the other, the oyster mushroom?
Oyster mushrooms are used, you'll see a lot, people like to kind of fry those up like little pieces, but the king oyster mushrooms, they're giant. And those, I cut them and I use that kelp powder and I make them taste like scallops, or I'll leave them long and press them down and marinate them, cook them up like ribs. Like, it's just, mushrooms are amazing how many things you can do with them.
No.
You can shred them and put them in barbecue sauce, like a pulled pork kind of thing. So delicious.
Yeah. So besides, I had no idea about the vitamin D thing, but thank you for bringing up vitamin D. Again, going back to like getting the nutrients and stuff that we need. Of course, now we're in spring and it's great. Everybody can go back out into the sun, but the winter was really bad. And vitamin D is something that we don't get enough of. So that's good to know, that mushrooms not only provide that vitamin D for you, but you can also boost them. What are some other like vitamin D kind of foods that we can, add in when we're not out in the sun?
That's a good question, and I'm trying to think, and I know that there's some out there,
but we can find out later.
Yeah, we can find out later.
We'll do a vitamins and minerals one. How's that?
I'm going to say that the mushrooms are always my go-to.
Yeah.
But I'm sure that if you don't like mushrooms, there are a handful of others.
I don't understand who doesn't like mushrooms, like how people don't like mushrooms. They're the best. They're so good. My kids just cannot stand them. My older kids love them. My younger kids can't stand them. It is the weirdest thing. And I never stopped eating mushrooms in between. But so we've got jackfruit as tofu, mushrooms. What's another like meat substitute? And tempeh. What's kind of another meat substitute?
So this isn't going to get your protein, but if you're missing that,
chewy,
or just that main core, people are obsessed with having that 3 part kind of meal where you have your steak and your veggies, and so I like to make cauliflower steaks. You take the head of the cauliflower and you slice them about 1.5 inches thick. You roast those, and then you can get your protein by I'll put some pesto, or a vegan pesto, of course, without the Parmesan. But your sauce or a cream sauce, whatever you want on top of there, and it's super delicious. You have that just, it's satisfying. So you have this thick piece, you chew into it. You don't want to kill it. You don't want it to be mush. Some texture there. That's one thing I like to do a lot.
That sounds really yummy. Okay, so that brings up another thing that maybe we can touch on, and that is cauliflower and broccoli and certain legumes will make you kind of gassy. Like, I kind of stay away from cauliflower for me personally, I hate saying that. For myself, I tend to stay away from cauliflower just because it does, upset my stomach a little bit.
Sure. Sure.
So like, what's something that you do you take anything to kind of alleviate that bubble gut?
You know, I don't. And when I first made the swap, I'm gonna say it bothered me for probably a good 6 weeks, and then it all just kind of went away. I think your body adjusts, and maybe
Okay.
some more than others, perhaps, and some of us maybe just can't eat as many of those kinds of foods.
Yeah.
Also, so
I think I might have just overdone it. Like, I think I just ate a big giant bowl of it one day because I was really hungry and I was just like, blah. I just didn't want to make anything. I just wanted to sit down and watch a movie. So I might have just microwaved a big giant bowl of frozen frozen cauliflower. So that might have been a me thing. So anyway.
sure. And
But
we're
it
all
is
guilty
true,
of it, I
like one of the
think.
things that I was concerned about was that I would be hungry all the time. So one of the things I tell my kids is if you're hungry, drink some water first. Your body might actually just be thirsty. You might be dehydrated. We do not drink enough water. People just don't. I actually put an app on my watch and on my phone to monitor how much water I drink. And and on my phone, I have to hit like 70 plus ounces a day. And I don't always hit that. And I'm constantly drinking water. I'm like one of the water pushers in my life. And I still don't drink as much water as my body requires. So for anybody that's like, oh, you're going to be hungry all the time, start drinking more water. It's good for you. Your skin will look better for the rest of your life. Your entire body needs it. But then also, like, the foods that you're talking about, Tiffany, are so satiating. And I think a lot of it has to do with the flavor profiles and the texture. And you've got a ton of those recipes on your website, right?
Oh, yes, I do.
So let's talk about your website.
And I just wanted to throw in too, you said you might not be full, and some people may say that in the beginning. Your body, like I said, does adjust. You just need to eat enough calories, and vegetables don't have as many calories. But the denser foods that you eat, your legumes are going to, your nuts. I eat so many nuts, and it makes a great snack.
That's what she said.
So, anyways,
you know me. But Quanta just had a really great suggestion. Probiotics help with gassiness. So there are actually some vegan yogurts out there that have really good amount of probiotics in it. And they're really easy to find now. They didn't used to be so easy to find, but you can go and check. Like Sprouts has so many, like, butter substitutes, cheese substitutes, yogurt substitutes. Quanta just recommended another cheese substitute that I actually really started liking. Was it Daiya cheese? And they come in like slices. And I've actually made grilled cheese sandwiches with this. They're so good. They're so yummy.
And you know what? I'm seeing more and more every day. New brands are constantly coming out, and you don't have to go to a special food store anymore. You don't even have to go to Sprouts anymore.
No, I know. I saw stuff literally saw stuff at Walmart and Costco that was a cheese, like a Daiya kind of. I think Costco has Daiya.
Costco has chow.
Yeah.
And they have Beyond Burgers at Costco if
you're
into that kind of stuff.
Really quickly before we get back to your website, Beyond Meat and Impossible Meat, those are some real, like, you could get meatballs, you can get patties, you can get just big things of like ground beef kind of thing, like the big squares that you would put in sauces. The one thing that I have noticed, and I've heard this from other people too, is that you don't want to completely switch from meat to Impossible Burger or Beyond Burger, because that's still it's a very processed product. So that can kind of upset your tummy. And it's also, there's a lot of processing going on in there. So there's a lot of like impact still there. So when I first switched over, I switched over completely to the Impossible Meats and the Beyond Meats. And then I really started playing more with, because It's not cheap either. The other thing about Impossible meats and Beyond Meats is they're not cheap. And so you don't want to like break the bank trying to eat better. Mushrooms are cheap. Mushrooms are not as expensive. I mean, some of the more exotic mushrooms can be, but
it all depends on what way you eat. If a lot of people say, I want to touch on, you said it being expensive. A lot of people say they can't go vegan, they can't go plant-based because they can't afford it. But if you stick to a whole food diet, which is going to be your healthiest choice, I mean, produce is cheap.
Yeah,
Lentils are cheap.
Is very
Rice
cheap.
is
I have
cheap.
my grocery bill has been cut in half.
Dumbed down, right?
Oh my God. I'm like, you know what? I can spend more money on other fun stuff now, and I feel I feel better. I just feel better. You know, like of course I lost a little bit of weight but that wasn't the whole point of it. The whole point is I wanted my insides, all my bodies, all of like my kidneys, my liver, my, you know, everything that takes care of you. Your kidneys and your liver, you guys, just beyond everything else, those take you to the grave. You need to be careful with those things. Those shut down, bye. Like it was very nice knowing you. We will see you in the other life, because like seriously, that stuff is so important. And a whole food, plant-based diet will keep those parts in your body, just like your parts in your car, will keep your engine running, and it'll keep you in great shape internally, which ends up showing up externally if you have skin problems, if you had weight problems, if you have if you have like joint pain or this and that, heartburn. So many things can be alleviated by cutting animal food out of your body. So I'm just saying.
Yes, and
it's not that hard to find. Starbucks has it.
I love that. It's about time.
It is. It really is.
Starbucks.
Yeah.
I'm not guilty of eating a Beyond Burger. You know.
Oh no, I for sure eat it. I just don't eat a ton of it. Yeah.
But yeah, if you want to, you know, Whole Foods are definitely going to be your healthiest way.
Yeah. Yeah. But I am glad you mentioned the pricing too, because people do have that resistance. They're like, oh no, vegetables are expensive. I'm like, no, they're not.
And you know what?
Really, they're not. And don't eat the canned stuff, you guys. Eat the real stuff. Eat the stuff. Go over, like as soon as you walk in the grocery store, boom, straight to the produce section and just fill up on that. And then get some spices, maybe some bread, some, you know, Dave's bread, and then, you know, get the hell out of there. You're done.
Stock up on vegetable broth.
Mm-hmm.
White miso paste. I use a lot of that.
Oh, I have white miso paste too.
Yay.
Oh my gosh, girl, you would be surprised. You would be surprised at what my pantry and my fridge look like now. It's quite different than when you were here last time. So yeah,
great.
It's been changed. Okay, let's get back to your website, because I've seen some really beautiful things on that site.
Thank you. My website's Veggies at Tiffany's, Tiffany with an I. I started it in 2017. It just kind of like, I worked in restaurants for almost 20 years, and I was able to have a moment where I could just stay home and be with the kids and play in the kitchen. And I started sharing my recipes with people. So check that out, please. I'll add the link once we get this posted up later.
Veggies at Tiffany's.
Oh, you got it? Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you've got some beautiful desserts in there too. Yes, and the one thing I learned from you is you can eat Oreos.
Oreos are technically vegan, yeah. A lot of people, not all vegan food's healthy.
I didn't say it was.
Right, but super delicious. Yeah, and I know you, like you said, you're a fan of my cheesecakes and my desserts. I have you can go down to the categories. I have a whole bunch of those on there. All kinds of yumminess. You can, check it out. I have categories for, you know, people that want to avoid soy, if you can't have nuts, you know, just grain-free. my blog is also all gluten-free because my husband has an intolerance. He'll probably get mad at me for saying that.
So that was another thing that I kind of added in there too. I do eat some bread, but not very much. But when I do, and I haven't been diagnosed or whatever, but my joints will hurt. My fingers, my knees. I do a lot of skating, so I don't need stuff hurting. Like I want to be able to skate until I'm 90. So
of course you do.
I will be. I will be.
I can't wait to watch you.
It'll be interesting.
Just watch your hip.
I know. No, I'm pretty sure I'm going to need a knee and a hip replacement by the time I'm going to have some plastic parts in me when I land. I'm okay with that.
That's scary. I'm too chicken.
No way. You taught me to be vegan. I am going to teach you how to skate.
Oh my gosh.
We're doing this, Tiffany. All right, you guys, thank you so much. I hope you got a ton of information out of this. For those of you that joined me live, again, thank you for coming back. For those of you that are watching later, just leave some comments and questions in here. You can tag myself or Tiffany, tag me or Tiffany, and just, check out veggies at tiffany's.com. It's TIFFANIS.com. So you can see right there below, veggies at Tiffany's. And always kinds of great recipes in there. And then I don't remember, do you have anything in there that just kind of has like a list of things that people should buy before they jump in?
I've always thought about putting that together, and I really haven't. But one thing I
guess you're going to do that today.
One thing I will say, I am so happy to always answer any questions people have for me. I'm not always good like on the spot like this, but send me a text, send me a message, or you can get to my email through the website as well. And just ask me, and there are no stupid questions, and I would be happy to help anybody.
Yeah. I think there are so many people, and I just saw the backsplash on your new kitchen. I'm sorry. I just went, whoa, that's so pretty. So yeah, Tiffany has a new kitchen, so she'll be like doing all kinds of cooking and stuff in there that we get to see. But what was the last thing? I seriously just lost my train of thought when I saw that backsplash. Damn it.
I was talking about people asking me questions.
Yes, there are a ton of questions when you go to change something like this, and the more you know, the better, so that you're not just eating potatoes for 3 days while you try and figure out what to do. So,
what I love to do, what I did my first week, and what I always try to tell people too, is try to just think of something that you've always made. So try to make the foods that you've always loved, but just make them plant-based. Take something
just
out.
swap out the protein.
Swap out the protein.
Yeah.
And then just, that's a good place to start, because people feel lost.
Yeah, that was, I made I've made tacos, mushroom tacos that, everybody that I fed it to, they're just like, oh my God, these are delicious. And I just made them, I made the meat, the mushrooms, exactly the way I would make regular taco meat. So, and if you're feeling, like overwhelmed by like, how would I even make taco meat? Do the thing that you did before, you guys, like go buy the prepared stuff, but you can buy plant-based prepared stuff, or just use a little salt, the little spice packets that you find at, like the little McCormick's or Lowry's or whatever, just the spice packets, and, slow cook the mushrooms with a little vegetable broth and those spices, and yum. Oh my God, I'm so hungry right now. All right, we gotta go, because thank you, Quanta, for being here, and everybody else that was here. But Quanta, I love all her comments. So she says, can people come cook with her? Can people come cook with you, Tiffany?
Yeah, you know what? Hit me up on the blog.
Yeah.
There is
Jana's a local, so she would be able to come by. And Jana is she's a cancer survivor. I'm glad you're still here, my friend. So she's really into the healthy eating, and like if you saw her, you would not believe her age. I'm not going to out her; she can say it, but she's gorgeous. And so I do what gorgeous people do.
I have done some private cooking lessons for people too. So
Awesome.
yeah, if you want me to come cook with you, I'd be happy to.
Yay. All right, cool.
Okay.
Well, Tiffany, thank you. I'm glad we finally did this. We've been talking about it forever. I'm glad we finally did it. And it sounds like we have some other videos on the other lives that we can tap into and kind of deeper dive. But thank you so much for making fun of me.
Thanks for having me
and
on.
for telling me that I can do it, because I have absolutely loved this way of eating, and it's just really improved my life and my body, and just even my mental awareness and everything. It's just really, really changed how I live. So very, very thankful to you. So anyway, all right, you guys, well, stay on here, Tiffany. I want to keep chatting with you, but for those of you that are thinking about it or know anybody that wants to go vegan, plant-based, whatever, whole food plant-based or anything, check out veggies@tiffany's.com, and make sure to follow Tiffany on Facebook. I'll put the links below, and I guess that's it. All right, you guys, thank you so much. If you found this valuable, oh God, I sound like I'm in Clubhouse. If you found value in this, just share it with a friend, because you know a friend that's looking to eat better and feel better too, just like you. So jump in together. Do it together. Be friends. Help your friends eat better. All right, you guys, I will see you next week. I don't know what we're talking about next week, but it's going to be just as good. All right. Have a great Hot Mess Monday, and I will see you next Hot Mess Monday. Bye.